All right, welcome back, folks. Sheepdog Smokey here, and this one, honestly, I was trying to make it last night and hit some technical snags, and decided I needed sleep before work today, so we're here today. Anyway, this one is, of course, a hot topic for the field of endless Democratic presidential candidates: gun control. And apparently now we're having to have Bernie Sanders' record explained to us. Of course, in 2016, yes, he was not the radical take away all guns Democrat that the left or the far left wanted. But we'll just look at this one here. Bernie Sanders faced consistent criticism from the left on one issue in the 2016 Democratic primary: guns. Opponents Hillary Clinton and Martin O'Malley attacked Sanders' past votes against a bill in 1993 that established national background checks and for a bill in 2003 and 2005 that protected gun companies from lawsuits if their products were used in crimes. Sanders, an independent from rural and gun-friendly Vermont, defended the virtues of moderation on this issue, arguing, "We need a sensible debate about gun control which overcomes the cultural divide that exists in this country, and I think I can play an important role in this." No, Senator, we don't. We need common sense back in Congress so that you realize we have a federal law requiring background checks. We just oppose registration, which we know leads to confiscation. We need someone to actually allow a debate about enforcement of current laws so we don't get the failure of Parkland, where county sheriffs don't arrest someone who had assaulted his mother. We get police officers allowed to act as opposed to schools telling them, no, we're just going to shuffle the kid around. But since 2016, Sanders, who's now running for the presidential nomination in 2020, has taken a different tack on guns. He's reiterated the need to expand background checks and ban assault weapons. That's a misnomer. He's pointed to his broader support for gun control and co-sponsored several Senate gun violence bills. In public appearances and social media, he's highlighted his own past remarks going back to the late 1980s, in which he called for a ban on assault weapons. Again, misnomer. Guns are a rare vulnerability on the left for Sanders in the 2016 campaign, a weakness Sanders is now trying to avoid. But his shift also reflects a Democratic Party newly invigorated on gun control, as activists and survivors of the Parkland, Florida shooting have put the issue front and center. To this point, one of Democrats' first major votes after taking control of the House in 2018 midterms was to pass a universal background check bill. We'll address that in a moment. Sanders emphasized the issue in his campaign announcement speech. "I'm running for president because we must end the epidemic of gun violence in this country. We need to take on the NRA, expand background checks, end the gun show loophole, and ban the sale and distribution of assault weapons." When asked, the campaign referred to this article. We're going to stop here because I'll link the entire article. First, assault weapon. As it was defined in the previous AWB, it is an automatic weapon, not a semi-automatic weapon. It is not something that looks scary. It is a true automatic weapon. For those who don't understand this, look at the Mini 14 and the AR-15. In all ways, other than cosmetic, they are the same firearm. They do not have a hammer, they have a charging handle. They use the same magazines, fire the same caliber of ammunition. Everything about them, functionally, is the same. The only difference is the AR-15 is different looking. In the 1960s, Armalite developed the AR-15 platform and tried to market it to the military. The military, rightly, realized that a semi-automatic weapon as a soldier's primary arm is not good. So they shopped around for someone who could produce an automatic weapon. It happens to look very much like the AR-15, but it is the M16 today. It is select fire, meaning it has 4 safety switch positions, whereas the AR-15 has 2. They share 2 of them. Safe, where it will not fire unless there's something horribly wrong with it. Semi-automatic, you pull the trigger, 1 round is expended. Doesn't matter how long you hold that trigger back, no more will fire. The M16 also has 3-shot burst. Pull the trigger, it fires 3 rounds, then requires you to fully action the trigger again. and then automatic, where it is quite literally spray and pray. Pretty much you're pinned down, you have no shot at getting a vantage point where you can then find your target and all of that, so you put as much lead downrange as possible. You lose accuracy the more rounds are fired with a trigger pull. I don't know why this is even debated, because the AR-15 is no more an assault rifle than a Mini-14. It is no more an assault weapon than my pistol or a rock, because all of them are weapons with which a person with evil intent can assault you with. This simple point, unfortunately, fails to register with many politicians over the planet today. After Christchurch, although they're ignoring the massive slaughter of Christians in Kenya, New Zealand Prime Minister banned virtually every gun in the country. When it fails, she will ban the rest. When that fails, they will move to UK levels of insanity and require you to register every knife in your possession, then GPS track them. Then they'll ban those too. Sadiq Khan already has called for knife control. The insanity is to the level of, to stop drunk driving, no one may drive. And then when that doesn't work and a drunk driver manages to do it again, to stop this, no one may leave their home. The ultimate end of all of these policies is Orwellian control, where you are told where to live, where you may work, what kind of clothing you may own, what kind of conveyance you may use, be it feet, a bicycle, a horse, or a car, or something else, where you are required to work. All of your money is taken by the government because, of course, they're giving you everything you need, which is just enough to keep you breathing so you can continue working. You are spied on by everyone around you because, of course, it's encouraged to report dissenters. It will start with this. It's already begun in some states with supposed red flag laws, although the very first instance of one being made public on the news was a lie. Someone claimed that another person was a danger because he had lost an argument and was mad. He reported this person, police showed up, the man was not willing to be disarmed on the word of a stranger, and was shot and killed. Only after his death did we find out that the original reporter lied. That man should go to jail for murder, because without him lying to police, the other man would still be alive. I doubt the man who died even really knew who the other person was. Unfortunately, he never will. Moving on, though, we have the other points of insanity. We have the now infamous David Hogg of Parkland, Florida. And supposedly now there is a movement called My Last Shot. In the event that I die from gun violence, please publish the photo of my death. Hashtag My Last Shot, signed. Well, first, David, you haven't signed it, so how much commitment do you have? But this is just ludicrous. You're going to put your family through a living hell by having you used for a political agenda. Now, apparently, Mr. Hogg here, who failed to pay attention in high school civics and social studies and other classes, is the son of a former law enforcement official. Presumably, that man has several firearms. His home is rather safe, but he wants you disarmed. All because a very mentally disturbed 18-year-old managed to illegally obtain a weapon and illegally use it. They ignore the fact that every mass shooting has two things in common: a very deranged person and an illegal action. It's already illegal to shoot people unless you are defending your life. Had a teacher been armed at Parkland, had the brave coach who tried to tackle the shooter been armed, that shooter could have been stopped long before he was. Although I don't have all the particulars, so we're going to stop talking about that there. But it doesn't matter because, of course, David Hogg is now a celebrity. He is a political leader. Although there are questions about how someone with an SAT score lower than the lowest average score of a Harvard student managed to gain acceptance to Harvard. With the Lori Loughlin and others scandal blowing the rooftops off of news, one wonders how much money may have made its hands to an admissions counselor, although they may have just seen the local golden boy of the left and decided, we want Democrats to like us, we have to let him in. The problem is this young man does not understand a thing he is talking about. So you see, I grew up in Texas, where gun control, to the old adage, means hitting your target. From the age of 11, I was allowed with my father to go to the range with him and observe him. At 13, I was allowed, under my father's supervision, to begin learning how to fire a shotgun. At the age of 16, he took me to the range and I was allowed to fire a pistol and a rifle. At every one of these instances, the rules were explained to me repeatedly. Rule number 1, there is no such thing as an unloaded weapon. I treat my weapons as if loaded all of the time. The only exception to that is if you completely disassemble it. Basically, the firing pin is nowhere near where the bullet would be. You still have to be extremely careful, though, because you're dealing with a tool. You're dealing with a simple machine that you really don't want to damage. But you don't point that weapon at anything you don't intend to shoot. Keep the muzzle in a safe direction. Always. Eyes and ears on. Always. There is no such thing as an unloaded weapon. That one was repeated between every rule. I grew up with a profound respect for the power that tool holds. From the age I can remember, I was told, if you see it, do not touch. It was understood that because we lived in a rural area, my father might keep that shotgun where he can access it in case we have, I don't know, a coyote or a snake or some other varmint or other predator approaching our home, which we did several times. Actually, prior to moving out into the middle of the country, we lived in a very urban area, very nice city block, and a bobcat got in the backyard. If my father hadn't had his .22 rifle, which officially my AR-15 is a .22 caliber rifle, he wouldn't have been able to protect my family from a wild animal. Had he not had that or his shotgun in the country, coyotes would have gotten into our home. They were in the garage. It's an unspoken thing with the left. Firearms are a tool for protection. They always want to run to the fact that the militia is mentioned in the Second Amendment. They ignore the fact that in the Fifth Amendment it refers to land and naval forces or the militia. It specifically singles out that the militia is not a part of an organized military. Never has been, never will be. They twist words. We have Senator Sanders here giving you a lot of nothing, giving you a lot of hot air. So much so that I'm surprised Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has not asked him to refrain from speaking so that he does not produce as much CO2 as he was. That's all we have from the Democrats. They can't just seize guns because they know the Second Amendment is there and the military and law enforcement will not comply. So they have to pass incremental encroachment bills saying, well, only this one type. But then the law says any semi-automatic firearm which uses a detachable magazine which holds more than 5 rounds of ammunition. That just banned over 90% of rifles and pistols. Leaves you with revolvers and a few semi-automatic rifles. Very few. My father's little plinker, his little .22 long rifle, has a 15-round magazine. And it is semi-automatic. So it's banned, even though they tell you it's all about the AR-15. It's all about the AR-15. But then they word their bill differently so that they can just say, oh, well, no, all of these are really assault weapons, so just give them up. It will start there, and it will not end there. It only ever ends with you controlled 100% by the government or killed by the government you would not obey. But I've talked long enough about this. Let me know what you think. Keep the comments classy and keep them civil. We do not learn from an argument, we learn from debate. And that's all that we'll ever have in my comments that at least I will acknowledge. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, at Sheepdog Smokey. You can also make sure and like and subscribe to this channel so that you're able to keep up with what I post here. I plan on doing some of these as well as other items where I delve into the actual social sciences. So make sure that you have that subscription going so that you're able to keep up with everything here. Until next time, though, have a wonderful day.